welcome to another episode of Marketing in the Morning.
School's.net's Homeroom.
And this is going to be a 3-part episode over the next few weeks or so because we have something really big to kind of talk about.
We do. Maybe it's Blackboard Web Conferencing?
Blackboard Web Conferencing, yeah. So
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Lots of information,
so
3 episodes.
Why don't you tell them real quick, what is the Blackboard Web Conferencing? What's it going to pretty much take over?
Well, it's going to take over what is the Wimber Classroom over time, not replacing it right away.
Yep.
So for a good while, we're going to have it loaded alongside the Wimber Classroom. Yep. But essentially, yeah, it's what was Wimber Classroom is going to be Blackboard Collaborate Web Conferencing from now on.
Yeah. Now, this episode is just going to be pretty much informational, and then the next 2 episodes, we're really going to be going out and diving into the meat of the software, really, and getting into the nooks and the crannies and showing you how to do those things and so forth. So today is really just a kind of an informational day.
Information. We love information.
Yes.
Let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started.
Some differences.
So really what we're going to focus on this slide here is just some of the differences if you're used to using the Wimber Classroom compared to the web conferencing. But also we have a lot of new features that are going to be coming in some of the other slides here. But just to start off is really the difference as far as the way you're used to using Wimber compared to web conferencing. In the Wimber side of things, it is room-based. So you would create a room and you could go in and out of that room how often you want.
Right.
And you could close it and open that room and so forth, where under the web conferencing, it's all schedule-based. So you create a room and it's scheduled to be open at a certain time during the day or at that time during the week or something.
Yeah, you do like every Wednesday, 3 to 4, something like that. It's just, it's a little bit of a different mindset.
It's a different mindset because of the way that you might use it in the past. It might not be as flexible because it is a little bit more rigid with the schedule.
Yeah, and we have, as we get on, we'll talk about some ways you can kind of overcome that as well.
More flexibility with it. So
yeah.
What else?
One of the other differences is the way that it stores content. If you use the Wimber Classroom, you can jump into Wimber Classroom, you can throw a PowerPoint up in there, you can close the classroom out, come back later, and it's still there. That's not how Collaborate works. Collaborate, whatever you put into the classroom goes away when you're done with that session. So you want to keep that one in mind. So you may have done like prep ahead of time with the Wimber Classroom. Put your PowerPoint in maybe the day before, something like that. With Collaborate, you won't be able to do it that way. You go in at the time, or say 15, 20 minutes before the session starts.
Correct.
Put your PowerPoint in and then you can present.
Yeah, and you have to load it within the room, where at least with Wimber, you could actually load it without being in the room. You could go into the website within the course side and you can load.
Yeah, so keep that one in mind. Also keep in mind if you say you do the same presentation 3 times, you would upload the PowerPoint each time you go into the room.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a difference. The other difference is that there's not the same kind of structure to your PowerPoints that was in the Wimber Classroom. The Wimber Classroom, if you had 5 or 6 PowerPoints, there would be a list of all the PowerPoint titles and you pick which one you want. Collaborate, it just has one big long list of all the slides. So there's no sort of foldering or anything like that.
And even if you had files in other classrooms, you could go to others, you could find them, and you could actually have that structure and so forth, where this doesn't have it at this time. We're hoping that that's a feature that will come down the pike.
Yep, so that's one difference too. Another difference?
Yeah, another big difference is the guest accessibility. Basically, when you created a Wimber Classroom, you would actually turn on guest accessibility or not.
Right.
And then you could actually at any time go and grab that web link and send that web link out. Where that was done at the building block level, where the web conferencing is actually done within the classroom. So you have to enter the classroom. You do have to turn guest access on, but then you have to enter the classroom, and then you have to send an invite out from in that classroom, which will send a web link out to the person, whoever you'd like to invite.
Yeah, so it's sort of that same thing about how it's session-based.
Session-based.
If you want a guest to come in, you go into the session and you invite them.
Yeah.
Whereas with Wimber, you could do it ahead of time. So keep that in mind. This one's a little simple one. In the Wimber, there's a tracking tool.
Correct.
You may have not even seen it. It's actually under the advanced button.
Yeah.
Some people use it, some people don't.
Yep.
Currently, that's not available within Collaborate. So you can't go and see, say, who watched an archive or something like that.
Yeah.
So you might want to add, do a workaround for that, maybe a quick quiz after an archive, something like that, where the students could do some kind of accountability.
And this one I'm really going to miss is the downloadable archives in either an MP3 or an MP4 format. Wimber had that in there. As of right now, the web conferencing does not have that capability for downloading archives. You can go in and watch the archives from within the Blackboard environment, but you're not able to download them, sync them, and so forth, and take them on your iPod. And one of the other things, too, that's kind of unique, too, is the wizard. You could actually go within Blackboard and you could run the wizard and so forth to make sure that your computer is set up, where in web conferencing, you actually have to go into the classroom to run the wizard. So the wizard is actually inside the classroom compared to outside the classroom where it was with Wimba.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other little differences is the way that you can link your classroom sessions to your course.
Yeah.
The Wimba Classroom, you could sort of go in like Unit 1, Lesson 2, Activity 3, and you could link either Classroom or an archive inside that folder. With Collaborate, you can only do it at the content area level. Like you can't go inside of any folders and link or anything like that. So you might want to consider maybe just creating your own content area or just doing a tool link or something like that. But I know something some teachers like to do was maybe link an archive to a specific lesson.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to do a tool link. Now, remember, we'll go into these in a little bit more detail later on.
And we'll demonstrate all this in some other episodes.
That's another change. Almost there?
Yep. And then the PowerPoint. You could actually upload a PowerPoint from your computer into the Wimba Classroom and not have to really have PowerPoint on your computer. But with the web conferencing tool, it actually has to have the PowerPoint application on your computer when you upload. So it's part of the conversion process. The application has to be on the computer. Either PowerPoint or OpenOffice, so either one. So if you don't have PowerPoint, don't want to spend for it, you can always download OpenOffice too.
So there is a free option.
Usually not a problem. Most people have that type of PowerPoint or some type of presentation software.
If you were having students upload, just off chance, just keep it in mind. And then one of the other differences too is Wimba has the telephony option where you can dial in to the classroom.
Supernatural powers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Telephony.
Telephony.
So that's included in Wimba, but there's no telephony in web conferencing, so you can't mind it.
Yeah, in most cases you're probably using the voice over IP. I know I always do, but unless you're traveling, or it's always a fallback method too if there's a problem. So that's
one of those ones similar to tracking, is that a lot of people didn't even realize telephony was in Wimba Classroom.
Yeah,
But
so you're probably thinking, wow, it doesn't sound like it's as good as Wimba. It seems like it's missing a few things, and it is, and we're hoping that some of those things will be upgraded, but it has a lot of really cool new features that I think are awesome compared to the Wimba Classroom.
Yes, it does. So let's take a look at those. Number one, a big one, is the whole new whiteboard.
Yes.
You may have seen a little glimpse of this with Pronto, what is now Blackboard IM.
Yes.
But now that's moved into Collaborate too.
Yeah,
so a whole new whiteboard. Yeah,
this board is object-oriented, meaning you can put something on there, you can move it around, and so forth, which makes it, I think, a lot to use.
If you drew on the board in Wimba, it was just there.
It was there, and if you didn't want it to be there, or you wanted it to be somewhere else, you couldn't do anything about that. So that's one. What's another one, Mark?
They have now indicators to show you who is writing on the board.
Yes.
I know one activity I always do to sort of orient people is I allow everybody to write on the board at the same time. And it's a mess. Like you have no idea who's doing what. Now there's the little indicator. If a kid's writing on the board, you can see by their name who is writing, which is really nice.
And you can reprimand them if it was the wrong person, right?
Exactly.
It's like, hey,
I told Jimmy.
And
Susie wrote. That's Susie.
I know, I hate Susie.
But so you have indicators now that show you who's talking, who's writing, who's texting. All of that's included in there now.
And there's more annotation tools built in there where you even have a laser pointer that follows you along of where you're pointing to and so forth.
Yeah.
Really neat.
I like that one a lot because in the Wimba Classroom you used to have to use like the arrow tool.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh, look here, look here. What it does is it just naturally follows your mouse. And that tends to be more the way you think. You point with your mouse what you're talking about, and it follows you around. So,
and again, the pointer tool being stationary, you click and point, where this is moving along and showing you where you're going to.
Yeah, it's nice. They've added some clip art in. Again, similar to the Blackboard IM whiteboard, there's a little section of clip art. It's not as complete as Blackboard IM, but it's partway there. So
and I know that that's something that they will be putting on in the future, is taking that clip art that they do have in Blackboard IM or the old Pronto and putting it into the classroom.
But they have some math symbols, they have stuff like that, so it's not bad. The annotations, this is another big one with the Wimba Classroom. If you put up a PowerPoint slide or you have a whiteboard or whatever and you draw on it and then you move to a different slide, all that stuff is lost.
Yes.
Yeah, you would have to do like the capture and save and all that kind of
Yeah, I
stuff.
know.
This one, everything remains.
Yeah.
And not only that, when you go back to that slide with your annotations on, you can change them, move them. It's as if you never left.
Yeah.
So it's really
nice.
for
So all that stays with it, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then the last and final one that we have here as far as the new technology on the whiteboard is participants can actually erase only their own objects that they put on the board. So if I put something on the board and Mark put something on the board, I can't go in and erase Mark's.
Yeah. Well, and also it doesn't in Wimber Classroom it just erases everything.
Well, you only had to erase the board or not, because it wasn't object oriented.
Yeah.
Where being object oriented, you can actually erase
Yeah.
each individual object, and the participants only erase their own.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. Much more control on the whiteboard side.
Yeah, that was a big
Yeah.
frustration in the Wimber Classroom. We have some,
Communication.
specific to communication, so text, video, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There are some new features. You'll find it just in general looks much newer technology on this side.
It's really cool.
One of the biggest changes is that in the Wimber Classroom, you could have multiple video streams, but you only ever see one at once.
That's right.
In Collaborate, you can have up to 6 running simultaneously.
Correct.
And it has a cool little setup where it has the primary speaker at the top, and then all the sort of secondary speakers show at the bottom, and then it switches around. It's pretty cool.
When it does follow the speaker, very similar to what Pronto did, but you can actually follow the speaker off too. So
Yeah.
you have some options of what video is going to be displayed. So if you only want my video displayed with the smaller videos that everybody else below, and you don't want it to be switched whenever they're talking, you can actually turn that off,
Yep.
or you can have the follow the speaker. So you have different options there.
Yeah, and in terms of simultaneous feeds, you can have up to 6 simultaneous video, up to 6 simultaneous audio. That is a minor difference from the Wimber Classroom. The Wimber Classroom, you could have as many audio as you wanted.
Who wants
but
more than 6?
I can't imagine more than 6 people talking at once.
You wouldn't understand anyhow.
Exactly. This is more about the video and the number of things number of video streams. So if there's somebody who's on video but they're not talking, you can still see them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And then the chat area is basically Blackboard IM, or the old Pronto, integrated into the web conferencing. So you basically have a Pronto-like chat feature where it runs off of tabs. One of the really, really cool features, though, is that you can moderate private chat. If you allow private chatting in Wimba, you aren't able to moderate that. And most teachers just said, no, I am just not going to allow private chatting. But now you can actually have private chatting on, and you, as the teacher, can actually moderate that and see what they're saying.
That's really nice, because it's always a shame to turn off a feature.
I know.
Now you've got that great sort of best of both worlds, where you can allow private chat, but you can just check to make sure everything's going okay. There is some more support for world languages.
Yeah.
You can use the typing tool both in the chat and on the whiteboard itself with some of the more complex languages like Chinese and Japanese.
And it functions a lot better on low bandwidth.
Yeah, it has a system built in that adapts the sound and the video to the end user's connection. Whereas how Wimber works is if you set your video to giant, it just sends that to everybody.
That's right.
Collaborate doesn't work like that. It will take that video and squash it for the people on slower speeds.
Yeah, so again, you don't have to worry about some of those things that you would set up ahead of time in the Wimber.
You just use it.
So this is all built in the software side, where before, like video, you had to actually change it from low speeds, medium speeds, and so forth, and that was set for everyone. Where this is going to be set for every individual person. So that's a lot better functionality.
Oh yeah, and it's one of those hands off.
Yeah.
Just use it.
Yep.
Some other features too.
My favorite. Web tour.
Yeah, web tour is pretty cool. Yeah.
So basically, what in the past in Wimba, you would send out a website, but they would have to then click on the different parts. Where you can actually have that same feature, but you can also now turn on what's called web tour, which means that when you click on that website, it actually has everybody else follow on their screen too. So you can be the person controlling that website, and they're just following along. So the web tour feature, I love.
Oh yeah, it's nice. Yep. And if a student decides to click somewhere else, the second you make your next click, it just sends them back on. So it's kind of cool. This is a really big one for me, I think.
This is cool.
Is that if you use Blackboard IM, which was Pronto, you can now launch Collaborate web conferencing sessions right from Pronto.
Yeah.
So let's say you're having a chat with 5 or 6 of your students, and you're like, you know what, I need to get this in. I need to do a little demo, and I want to record it.
Yep.
All you do is you select those kids' names, you right-click, launch web conferencing, and it takes those people from Pronto and drops them into a full Collaborate web conferencing room with all the tools, all the recording, and everything built in.
And web conferencing, being a schedule-based program, is a little bit more rigid
Yeah.
This provides that flexibility that we were talking about.
Yeah, so when we said earlier on, well, you'd have to do 3 to 4 on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of frustrating because I just want to be able to do it whenever I want. Go to your Pronto, your Blackboard IM, that is already turned on. You just need to right-click, launch. It's really cool, really big feature, I think. A couple of other little minor ones
little
here.
things. They have a video player built in, which allows you to show video much more effectively. And then
They have the file transfer tool. These are things you could sort of do with the Wimber Classroom, but not really.
Yeah,
the video player, for example, if you hit play and then you hit pause, it pauses for everybody.
Yep.
Whereas before, it would just send them a video file.
And they would have to control.
Yeah, you could transfer files in Wimber, but it was pretty clunky.
Yes.
I mean, you have to go through the back end and all that.
Yeah.
And then this countdown time is just a tiny little cool feature.
That's one of my favorites, actually, because before your classroom starts, you could actually have a timer on the top saying that we're going to be starting in 3 more minutes, and they see the timer rolling, and they know that nothing's going to happen until then. Or if you do break out into groups or whatever it may be, and you have students working on certain things during your live session, you can put a timer up there and say you have 2 minutes to do this activity.
Yeah.
And so that really is a really cool feature.
Yeah, it's one of those little cool things.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information.
Yeah, let's take them out
Let's take a look.
real quick and just show where they would access the Blackboard Collaborate. As I said, we're going to be talking in later episodes here. All these functionalities we're going to be demonstrating and showing these.
Yeah, so we have several sessions coming up, but if you feel like, oh, I want to get started right now,
I want to play.
it's already available for you to use. So you just go to any of your Blackboard courses, head into your tools area, and you'll find right here Blackboard Collaborate.
They're in alphabetical order, so.
Yeah. So it's under B,
B,
for Blackboard Collaborate. Go right in there, and really you'll find just one blue button inside here, Create Session.
Yep.
We'll go through all the details of this later on, but if you literally want to give it a try, you can literally just click Create Session and just click Submit, and it'll create you one. It'll create you like a half-hour session.
Yeah, and we definitely want you to stay tuned to Mark and Mark in the morning for the next the next few sessions, because we're going to be going over this. But if you really want to get started and you want a little bit more training, we do have some archives in our training online training area that goes over the web sessions, the webinars that we had, and we had 2 webinars on this. Feel free to watch those webinars, get you up and running as quick as possible.
And check out your Blackboard IM too. Like if you're not sure, just grab a buddy on Blackboard IM, right-click on their name, launch a web conferencing session.
Just
2 seconds, you're using web conferencing.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Hey, I want to thank everyone for watching another episode of Mark and Mark in the Morning.
BSN Homeroom.
Have a great day, everyone.